I'm pleased to say that joining me now is the Education Secretary and supporter of Liz Truss, that's James Cleverly. James Cleverly, good morning to you. Thanks so much for being with us. Why won't Liz Truss, Rishi Sunak, Boris Johnson, whoever else, sit down now to try and put anxious families at ease about the prices they're going to see come October?
Well, the government, the Chancellor and the Business Secretary have hauled in the leaders of the energy companies to hold them to account, to discuss with them what they are going to do with these unexpected, unplanned, unprecedented profits that they have been making because of that sudden spike in energy prices caused by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The candidates have been putting forward their plans. Liz has announced that she will be putting a temporary moratorium on the green levies that push up energy bills to an extent. She's also said she won't be going ahead with the national insurance rise. That will put back £240 of national insurance rise, best part of £200 into the pockets of people. And also what she said she is going to do is bring forward an emergency budget as soon as the House comes back to address these issues before the prices of energy go up, when the price cap is lifted in October.
You know, it's reported that many families on the lowest incomes are going to have a shortfall of some £1,600. Now, you talk about the Chancellor Nadhim Zahawi and Kwasi Kwarteng, Business Secretary, speaking to the energy companies today. Is that an acceptance, then, that the windfall tax that the former Chancellor put in was inadequate?
Well, we have already got a support package in place, a very, very significant, unprecedentedly large support package in place. We recognise that prices are projected to go up higher than the initial projections, and so that's why Liz has said that she will look at that. That's best done through an emergency budget. That's not something you can do through recall Parliament. We have to do that when we have a new Prime Minister when the House comes back in September. And we can do that before those prices go up in October, as we know they inevitably will.
Yeah, but what I'm pushing on is this windfall tax idea. You are here, I know you were supporting Liz Truss, but you were also government minister, so I do want to get an answer from the government, because we haven't heard from them very much in the past few days. So is this an acceptance that the windfall tax that was put in place with those carve-outs to try and encourage investment was wrong, was misplaced? And we need to go further.
No, what we're seeing is that the energy costs, the wholesale global energy costs, are still increasing faster. Now, we need to increasing higher, so we need to respond to that. Now, the decisions that were made at the time were the right decisions, I have no doubt about that. But the situation in Ukraine has dragged out. The energy cost implications have changed, and of course, as a responsible government, we constantly need to review the situation. But of course, the other thing that we need to do, which doesn't get talked about so much, is to try and bring these prices, these wholesale energy prices, back down again. That's why it's so important when we deal, in my old job, and what Liz is doing as Foreign Secretary, is to make sure those energy-generating countries, those oil and gas-producing countries, increase production to try and bring those prices down. And we've seen the prices starting to come down. It won't filter through to people's pockets as quickly as we would like, and that's why, as I say, Liz has said she will bring forward an emergency budget as soon as we get back in September, ahead of those price rises in October.
Yeah, and I think a deal has been signed to bring in gas from the United States as well in the past few days, which hopefully will help. Now, I just move on to your brief as well as Education Secretary. Sure. I know you're new in the gig, but schools are going to really struggle this winter to be able to heat the buildings and also feed the kids. I mean, what's going to be done to make sure that those schools can meet the energy needs that they will have?
Well, and this is why, and I know, Gordon Brown, who frankly should know better, has been telling everyone, oh, we just recall Parliament and all these problems go away. It is a much more complicated, and therefore the government answer needs to be a more comprehensive answer than just come back for an emergency debate in the summer. Because you're right, these energy price pressures are hitting everyone, both at home and businesses. But of course, as you're right, as you say, in my department, this is hitting schools, universities, colleges, and we do need to look at what we can do about that. But it needs to be done. It needs to be done as an overall package. And it needs to be done with the ultimate intention, which is to bring these costs down. You can't just keep chasing higher costs, because we've got to remember there's no such thing as government money. So whatever support package we put in, whether it be to individuals or to organisations like schools and colleges, needs to be paid for, and it's paid for out of taxation. And everyone loves the idea of more taxation. because they all think someone. Because they always think,
not everyone.
They
Mr.
always
Cleverly.
think someone else is going to pay it.
You could borrow some, but look. I want to focus in on
Sorry,
this schooling. Of course, don't apologise. Look, the Department for Education put out a survey early in the year asking head teachers about the costs that they would be incurring. That then was the results of it were deferred in July because of political uncertainties. I think it was probably when you were coming into the job. So when a teacher's going to know the amount of money that they're going to expect, because there was a promise that there would be a little extra funding for schools. Is that still going to come? Are they going to get extra funding?
Well, we had a funding announcement just before I stepped into the job. It was a good funding package, but we absolutely recognise that the costs have still continued to ratchet up, in large part because of this invasion of Ukraine. And as I say, an emergency budget is the best place. One of those kind of set-piece fiscal events is one of the best places to look at the whole range of income and expenditure within government. That's the right way to do that. We are absolutely looking at those costs that schools and colleges and universities are having to deal with. But as I say, one of the best ways of doing this is to bring those costs down, and that's not going to
happen in the short term, as you readily admit. And you could say that you are going to make sure that schools have adequate funding to make sure that the buildings are warm enough for the kids this winter.
Well, of course, we've got to ensure that schools can teach and that colleges can teach and universities can teach. We've also got to make sure, as I say, that whatever we do has to be done in an economically sustainable way. And I know that it is disconcerting. Of course, it is.
People are very worried.
I totally get that. And everyone's going to be feeling it, and we are going to respond to that. But as I say, the most sustainable way of doing that is to push down those prices, and that's going to take international effort as well as domestic political effort.
Should the UK be braced for blackouts come January?
Well, look, we've got to understand that we are in a global market. We're in a global energy market, and the things which are affecting us are affecting everyone around the world. We're in a better position than many in terms of our domestic energy production, and there is every reason to believe that we can get through this, and it's not going to be easy. But we are a resilient. We've seen this through the COVID situation. We are a resourceful, resilient, agile country, and will continue to be so.
Yeah, I mean, you saw how bad it got in COVID, so it could be this bad, and we could have blackouts come this winter.
No, I'm not saying that at all. That's what you're saying. That's not what I was saying. The point I'm making is that we recognise the challenges that are coming. We will ensure that we plan appropriately for what are global circumstances, including, as you said, ensuring that there is an overall increase in production where we can influence our international partners to do so, to make sure that we are able to continue being active as a country and as an economy.
OK, James Cleverly, Education Secretary, really good to speak to you. Thank you so much, sir.